So let's get straight into it. The first big mistake that many companies make, which really hinder their focus of success, the chances of commercial success. Number one is to do all this fundraising, they go about it like they believe it's easy. And I think this is a fundamental issue with many founders, especially if they come from an academic background. They've put a lot of work into developing this baby of a company, and they've nurtured it to the current stage. And like any parent, they've fallen head over heels in love with their child. And the problem is they think that anybody else who sees their pitch deck, who sees their business plan, is immediately going to fall head over heels in love with it too. And that very rarely happens. And so this kind of false confidence, I think, tempts founders into thinking that fundraising is going to be easy. We'll just create a pitch deck, we'll create a business plan, we'll whiz it out to all the investors we can find on the internet and wait for the money to start rolling in. And guess what? It doesn't. Big mistake is spraying and praying. And I think I've illustrated that. It may seem like the cheapest and easiest option, but if it takes you 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, I've seen it take 4 years. If a company hasn't got the offer right, but continues to keep believing that they have and keep banging on the same doors, they're working 4 years without significant revenue or the investment that they need. I don't know how they do that. And that's what I want to be helping stop. And especially when you consider what you're doing is putting all of that effort you put in, years of work into your company, probably your life savings, probably some friends and family investments as well. You might even have some early stage investors. You're putting all of that money on the table and gambling it on an approach that has a 1 in 6,000 chances of success. So what you do instead, and what most companies do, is they start to build a bridge from the left-hand side, the research, the development side of their product, to the right-hand side of the valley, the market, where all the funding and the commercial success and impact and world fame is. And what many companies do is they focus solely on the money they need to build the next step that's ahead of them. And going back to technology development terms, that's the equivalent of getting funding just to develop a more mature, a more market-ready version of your prototype. So your fundraising strategy becomes very narrowly focused just on what money do we need to get to the next level of development for our new technology. Mistake number 2, focusing only on the money, is that you can tend to live, your company can live funding round to funding round, that you know exactly how long you've got left in the bank account, how much cash you're burning every month, how much you've got left, and you know when you need the next injection of cash by. And it unfortunately creates a mindset that the money that you're seeking is the prize, when in reality, it's the complete opposite. It's your offer, your team, your company, the opportunity to solve this big and pressing problem in a growing market. That's the prize. And when founders are focused solely on, we need this much money to continue for the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, or get to the next development level, they can forget that actually the real value here is the opportunity you're bringing for the investor to put in money into your company and then to have that 5x, 10x, whatever sort of returns they're looking for. How you do it, you build a bridge across the valley of death from both sides at the same time. So as well as accessing the funding that you need for the next development of your products, you are also illuminating the opportunity that in the market that your technology company is solving, so that the commercial world, investors and customers, can start to be aware of what you're doing. So what you're really doing is you're kind of like a lighthouse. You're broadcasting about your company. Big mistake number 3. And this is selling the product or the firm. When you're a founder, either from a technical background or an academic background, or someone who's been deeply involved in the creation of this product, You care so deeply about the technology that comes across in the way you present it. So you end up selling what the product is, what the research that went into it is, how clever the science is, or the track record of your firm and your institution. But that's not what investors or customers care about. Those two things, the size of that market opportunity, whether that market is big and growing, that's the most important thing to them. Then it's how different your solution is to what's currently out there on the market. Then it's the strength of your team. They're looking for people that are passionately, they are all in on this concept. They don't want to be investing in those who have got a full-time job and this is a side gig. They want to be funding those who are passionate about launching this company to see it through until the end, through all the twists and turns of the journey. Otherwise, it's things like skills like resilience, tenacity, flexibility. Are you a founding team that's going to be able to be coached by an investor? And if you're making this mistake of telling the world and selling on the basis of how clever and how unique and how innovative your technology is, then that's very much down the list of priorities for an investor. We've talked about these big three mistakes: spraying and praying, being focused solely on the money, so building the bridge only from one side, and also a mistake in selling the wrong, focusing on selling the wrong part of your company, the product or the firm, the technology itself, rather than the market opportunity. And so these are my kind of takeaway points for you to implement on your own steam, or if you need some help, you know where I am. So if you want people to engage with you, whether that's customers you're trying to build a market for your new technology, whether it's investors you're trying to get excited in it, or both, create stories that put them at the heart of it. When you're using things like social media or email campaigns, target your content not at what you've got, not at what your solution is and how it works and the results you can get from using it, but talk about the thing that at the moment is the only thing that connects you to your prospect, which is the problem itself. But the problem is when you focus only on the solution, if you look at the 100% of people who may have the problem, the people that are actually, they've gone through the fact they've recognized they've got a problem, they know they want the outcome of being full, they've decided that a takeaway is for them, and now they're out in the market searching for a takeaway, that is only 6% of the total market. Focus it instead on what the problem is that you're actually addressing. So you're talking to those people who've got a problem and can immediately see that you're a person that understands the problem they're going through and therefore could be a good person to work with, buy from, or consume from. So that's why this approach works. And if you stick around long enough on LinkedIn, you'll see me promoting a few of my case studies from where I've gone through the Fit to Fly process to getting that compelling story for a company. And this quote here from the CEO of TCS just helps illustrate how much I can accelerate the development of a compelling offer from your company to the market in a fraction of the time that it might take you to do on your own. Number one, please, please, please stop spraying and praying. Cold emails, cold DMs to investors you haven't gone through, you don't understand what they invest in, you don't understand whether this would be something that they even might consider, just send them an email anyway. Stop that. It wastes investors' time, it wastes your time, it creates a lot of anxiety and burnout and extra work, chasing up people who are just too polite to say no earlier on. To get the sort of investor attention that you want from the type of investors that will really help you accelerate your company, create that compelling story to appeal to them that creates that emotional response that you're looking for. My third point, don't build it like Kevin Costner in the film Field of Dreams. Don't build it on the expectation that once you have done, they will just flock to you, they being the market. They won't unless you get them involved early. So creating sort of beta stage group, building awareness in the market of your potential offer around the problem you solve, doing that early to build that market and getting customer validation that you're onto a good thing, that's the sort of thing that you should be doing as early as humanly possible. And before is change the way that you approach investment. And if you want to know more about that, you can either pick up my guide on LinkedIn called Driven, or attend my Beat the Odds workshop, which is 2 weeks from now. When you're using my approach to create awareness of your science and technology companies from the other side of the bridge to attract commercial interest, create meaningful value-adding content that promotes your company based around that problem you're solving. So use that to build an audience of willing buyers, so that you've got people who can provide early validation that the concepts are right, that you can provide, you can turn them into advocates, people who talk warmly about your brand and your company, because that's the sort of thing you need to get that snowballing of market adoption once you get closer to the market. Build that audience of willing buyers who get why your company exists. And then and only then start to engage with prospects that fit your profile on LinkedIn, whether that's targeting investors individually on a personal level, or whether it's trying to build more early stage customers. But don't rely on a pre-formatted, templated type email or DM on social media to a person you haven't taken the time to get to know first. It doesn't work that way, and it just ends up annoying people when you're talking about your offer and your solution when you haven't even qualified that they've got a problem. That's my advice to you, to the way that you can implement this approach, stand out to win, to attract investor attention and customer attention in your technology startup. These are the steps, practical steps you can take today. And if that's been helpful to you, brilliant. Then this workshop's been useful and been value added. If you needed particular help, then you know exactly where I am. I live on LinkedIn, so you can always send me a message there. And at the end, I'll give you a quick QR code that you can scan with your phone if you'd like to book a quick meeting with me just for a no obligation chat.